If you use Gelato as your print-on-demand platform, the Gelato Plus and Gelato Gold accounts have a personalization feature that works with Etsy that you may be interested in if you sell personalized products in your Etsy shop. All right, so in this video, I want to share with you something I just found out about that Gelato offers in their 2 paid subscription tiers. So Gelato has a totally free account, which I use, and I've used it for a while, especially for international orders, because they have great pricing and great shipping rates and providers in a lot of different countries. So customers tend to get their orders faster in a lot of different countries if you use Gelato. But they also have 2 tiers of paid subscription plans. They have the Gelato Plus account and they have Gelato Plus Gold. Both of the paid options offer access to a personalization automation that I think is pretty darn cool because it works even if you sell on Etsy. Now, the main features of it are available through Shopify right now, but some features of it do work on Etsy, which is pretty cool because Etsy is a great marketplace for selling personalized items. Now, the pricing for Gelato's paid plans are $7.99 a month for Gelato Plus, so that's $95 and change per year. And the Gelato Plus Gold is pretty pricey, $49 per month. That's $600 per year. I just did an episode of the podcast that breaks down and compares the different paid types of accounts that all of the platforms have. And I'm going to be doing a video sort of equivalent of that as well pretty soon. But for now, I'm not going to dig into the other features of Gelato Plus or Gelato Plus Gold. I'm just going to focus on this personalization automation that comes with either one. And you also can get a free 30-day trial of Gelato Plus, and that's what I actually did. Right now, I opted into the free 30-day trial so that I could test out this personalization feature. So the main feature that works with Shopify is they have a personalization feature where you can actually give customers the ability to personalize an item right there in the user interface of your store. So they can upload their own images or they can edit custom text fields right in the user interface. If you're on Etsy, you know that Etsy controls the user interface. We can't do anything to change the way the listing, interface works or the checkout process or anything like that. So usually those types of features are completely off limits for us as Etsy sellers. And Etsy does have a built-in way to collect personalization information from customers. It's just a little field that you turn on where the customer types in, custom text they want, whether it's somebody's name or a saying or whatever they want on the product that you're offering. But normally that means you then have to go change the print file. Depending on which print-on-demand platform you use, you have to go manually edit the print file. Even if you use Printful, which has, up until this point, I think the best personalization workflow. Printify doesn't have any workflow for this. You can do it. I have a video about how to do it using Printify. If you're interested in checking that video out, I'll put a link in the top corner and in the description. The thing that Gelato offers is pretty cool and allows you to not be involved in the process at all. So let's take a look at it, and then I'm curious after we look at it to know in the comments if you want to try it out, if you think it's a good idea, if you think it's a bad idea, or what. So I might be testing this out using the 30-day free trial on some personalized items, and hopefully I can make some sales to test it out. Now, what they offer for Etsy is an automated personalization workflow that the customer actually completes, but they complete it outside of Etsy. So we'll talk about pros and cons, in my opinion, when we get to the end. So let's just walk through what it is. Gelato also has this help page on their website that I will link to in the description, which has a video about how to go through this process, but I'm going to walk through it right now. All right, now when you are designing your product, so I just went to my Gelato store, clicked on Add Product, I selected an 11-ounce white mug, and that's how we're gonna make this particular sample here. So I have a cat graphic I got from Vexels, so we're gonna make this a mug that you would personalize with the name of your cat. So all we're gonna do, we're not gonna have the personalization be on the image, but you could, because Gelato actually has these things called collections where you can actually have a set of images, say 3 or 4 options for the customer, and they can select which one they want on the final product. But we're not going to do that for this one. We're going to have ours be personalized with text. So we're going to come over to the left side here and select text. and then we're going to click add text. So we're going to have just a sample in here. I'm just going to put fluffy. We'll bring that over to the right side of the mug. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And we're going to also give the customer the option to pick 2 different fonts at the same time as customizing the text. So we're going to do one option here that's more block style. All right, so that's one. Now we need to add a layer by duplicating this. So we'll duplicate, drop it right on top, and then change the font. Let's do one that's more scripty. There we go. We'll recenter it. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that on both of these layers, come up to your little 3-dot menu if it's not there, and make sure you have personalization checked off. So allow personalization, all right? Same thing for the duplicated layer, personalization, allow personalization, all right? So it lets them change the text. That is the most important part. So make sure you have that enabled for both of the font options, or just one if you're only going to give one font option. To make this dynamic and allow them to select the 2, we need to come over to the personalization tab in the top right corner. And what we've got here is we've got these 2 text layers, all right? So what we want to do is create a new condition. So we're going to give this the name font style, and we're going to leave it as buttons. And under options, we're going to put block and then script. All right, so block and script. Now we'll go to associated elements, and we will link block to the first one, and then we will link script to the second one. So you can see now, this is what the customer will see actually in their portal. They'll have a button for block and a button for script. Now we're ready to proceed. So we have the next step in the process is our mockup. So do continue to media, and just make sure you select any mockups that you want included in your listing, and then continue. Now we're going to add the details, so our title and our description. Then the next step is to set your prices, and we will publish. All right, now it's going to take a moment to be published. There we go. And once that comes through, we're just going to need to do our final edits to the listing in Etsy the same way we would when we push any other listing to our shop. All right, so here's the listing. It came through in our Etsy shop, so we'll just open that listing. And of course, you can play around with the mockups. You can add, change, do what you need to do, get more mockups from Placeit or anywhere else that you want. And you're going to need to go through the same things you normally would with your listings. Make sure it's got another company there for who's making it. There is something special we want to add to the description, and you may also want to create an image with some instructions in, and that's, well, I just said it, instructions. So because of the way this process works, we want to tell our customers what's going to happen and what to expect. I'm not going to address that just yet because I want you to see what's going to happen first. So what happens after the customer places an order is they receive this automated email from Gelato, and it goes to the email address that's on file with the Etsy order. Now, it comes from a somewhat foreign email address. It comes from noreply@productpersonalization.com. So one caveat there is it might go to their junk folder or some other folder that's not their main folder. So there's one thing to keep in mind. But the email itself does include information that's relevant and points out it's, this order number with the name of your shop. So it should be clear to the customer what it's about. So it should be pretty clear to the customer, that it's in reference to their Etsy order, and they have a link to personalize. Now on the Gelato side of things in your account view, when you go to your orders tab, you will see the order sitting in pending personalization status, and it will stay that way until the customer completes their personalization. Now, when the customer clicks on that personalized link, it takes them to this page. There's nothing on the page except for what they need to do. So it shows them the design layout. It gives them the editable text field, and it also lets them switch between the 2 font choices that we included. So let's say I want script. Now let's say I want to change my cat name to Whiskers. One thing that happens here is depending on the length of the name, it may not be quite as centered. Well, it actually does give the customer the ability to recenter or move around the text as well. They can actually kind of put it anywhere. So I see this as potentially good and bad. And let me save that comment till we get to the end, because I want to go through the pros and the cons that I personally see in my own opinion here. So I centered it as much as it can be centered, and I selected my font, so I click on Complete Personalization. I get a message that says, you're all set. We will proceed with your order fulfillment, and I'm done. Now when I come into my Gelato orders, I actually can see that the customer has completed it, and it has been submitted to production. And if you click on the image in the order, you will actually see the personalized text that your customer added to the mug. So it actually changes the images associated with that order. Now, this didn't do anything to your listing on Etsy. It just let you know what the customer did with their personalization. So this process was completed 100% without you, without the seller. Well, it was me, I guess, but without you, the customer completed their personalization using the sort of special portal that they got via email, and then your order was submitted to production. Pretty darn cool, if you ask me, that Gelato has figured out a way to take you, the seller, out of the equation completely and fully automate the personalization process. All right, let's talk pros and cons, and then I want to know from all of you in the comments if you like this, if you think it's a good feature, if you think it's terrible, if you're interested in using it. Let's start with pros. Actually, I think pros and cons are both pretty obvious. The pros, in terms of the biggest pros, obviously, not having to be involved in the personalization workflow and to sell something personalized on Etsy and not have to do any of that manual work is a really cool concept. I think that's awesome because if I sell a lot of personalized items in my Etsy shop, I could go on vacation and be sitting on the beach and not have to be checking my email like 20 times a day to make sure I don't have a personalized order that I need to go edit before it gets submitted to production. It's just gonna happen automatically for me. And honestly, that's the only pro I think you need because that's the whole reason this feature exists, and that's exactly what makes it a differentiator, what gives it an advantage over the workflow for selling personalized items on any other print-on-demand platform that I know of, at least for right now. Now let's talk about some cons. I think most of them are probably also pretty obvious. Number one con, you have to pay for one of the Gelato subscription plans to get access to this feature. So you either have to have Gelato Plus or Gelato Plus Gold. Another major con or potential con, I shouldn't say major, a potential major con is the fact that it is all on the customer. At the same time as that is one of the pros, I think that also could be a potential con because putting all of that on the customer means they actually have to do it, and it's an external email not coming from Etsy and not coming directly from like you. They have to know that that email's coming, and they have to actually go and do the personalization. Now, I know for a fact there's at least 2 reminder emails that are sent automatically to them if they don't complete the personalization right away. I think there may be like 2 days spread apart. Another con of the customer completing it is they can make mistakes. They can place the customized text or the graphic in a weird spot, or they could have a typo in personalized text, and then they could basically blame you. Like, even though it's their fault, obviously it'd be their fault. They could write to you and say they want a replacement, but in that case, they did it, so you're not gonna get a free replacement. It's not like when the print comes out bad or it arrives broken, you're not gonna be able to get a free reprint, so it opens the door to that. It's not a guarantee, it just opens the door to that. So that's one potential con of the customer doing it themselves. I think those are probably the only 2 big obvious cons in the process, but let me know. Do you think are there other pros and other cons that you see as far as this automated personalization feature? Now, I mentioned the expectation setting and that I would circle back to it, so let me mention that now. Now that you've seen how that process plays out, what you would need to do, what I think you need to do if you're going to use this, I would put some instructions for the customer in 3 places. Mainly, the first 2 I would say are the most important. So number 1, I would use like Canva or something like that to create one reusable graphic that I would add into all of my listings where it just is an image that lists out the instructions. So I would just make an image that says, if you're personalizing this item, you're going to receive an external separate email with a link. Use that link as soon as possible to personalize your item in order to, speed up the processing of your order. Put it as an image, and then also you need to add that as sort of a standard thing down here in your description. Now Gelato includes this in here, a little note about you'll receive an email. I just would maybe tweak it and make it more prominent. The third place would be in your shop settings under info and appearance. You actually have a field here for message to buyers that goes at the bottom of their email order receipt. And so I might also drop that note in there to say, if you purchased a personalized item, you'll be receiving a separate email to enter your personalization. Not a lot of people look at this one, so this one's the least important out of the 3, but I would still throw it in there as some extra insurance personally. All right, so that's that. What do you think? Do you like this personalization automation feature? Is it worth paying for Gelato Plus, in your opinion? Let me know in the comments. If you thought this information was helpful or interesting, do me a favor and hit that like button so YouTube can show the video to more people. And if you haven't subscribed to POD Insights yet, hit that subscribe button so that you can find out when I upload new videos. Thanks, everybody.